Hello again. As you might be able to tell, I'm actually reading a couple of bedtime stories tonight. I had a few of them that I recorded that were lost, and one of them was Deputy Dorkface. Deputy Dorkface. Dedicated to Taylor and Colin for their unending desire to hear the story of Deputy Dorkface before they went to bed. And guess what? It's another signed book. Simon, happy reading. Kevin Janison. Once upon a time, in the Mojave Desert, there was a ranch on a hilltop overlooking the enormous valley. The children, Taylor and Colin, were playing hide and seek inside the ranch house. "Go outside and move your bones," ordered their mom. "It's too nice to be indoors." Now, if their mom had asked them to clean the rooms, she would have had to ask several times. But play outside? That took only once. So off they went. Taylor said, "Let's go for a ride." "Yeah," agreed Colin. Taylor jumped up on her horse, Sassy. Colin mounted Pegasus, his stallion, and off they galloped across the parched desert valley. So you know the difference between a horse, which would be a mare, and a stallion? So a stallion is a boy, and a mare is a girl. As they rode away, the kids played a game of tag on their horses, something their parents thought wasn't very safe. Over a dry stream bed and into the next canyon, the lively ponies cantered, laughing and giggling along the way. An hour had passed before the kids realized they had wandered farther from home than ever. The kids came trotting over a low hill and spied a little old town in the next valley. Rising from the dirt on the side of the trail was a very large and very strange sign. That must be a diamondback. I see diamonds. Oh, and it's got a rattle. That makes sense. You gotta stay away from those. I wonder what's on that sign. Let's see. The ridiculous warning sign really made the kids laugh. They looked at each other and howled out loud. "Stinkville?" They laughed so hard, tears came to their eyes, and they almost fell off their horses. They just had to check this out, so they rode on. Look at the sign. "Welcome to Stinkville." Sort of smelly, really reeking, gas mask required, high stink, danger, stay out. Stinkville stinkometer provided by the Stinkville Chamber of Commerce and Air Quality Department. As they trotted their ponies down Main Street, the place seemed just like any other small desert town, but there was a big difference. Taylor and Colin exchanged a look at each other again, and together they shrieked, "P-U!" Stinkville smelled awful, and they had to hold their noses. As horrible as the smell was, they bravely decided to ride on to the middle of town. "P-U! What was it?" Besides the smell, everything was really dirty. It hadn't rained in a long while, but it was more than that. There was no one out on the streets. but the kids could see people peeking out of doors and windows. And they were really dirty and really stinky. P.U. Nose plugs for sale. Look at all the people. Breathe clean gas masks, air fresheners for sale. What was going on here? They had to get to the bottom of the stink. One day, many years ago, the town's deputy was eating his lunch. He was having a peanut butter sandwich. But as he sipped some water to wash down the sticky sandwich, he noticed that his skin had turned bright red and puffy all over. Must protect my good citizens of Stinkville. And so, as the little town's only official, he officially proclaimed a proclamation. It stated officially, for the protection of Stinkville, whereas, therefore, hereby from this day forthwith, Stinkvillians shall never use water, not even to bathe. And because it was an official proclamation from their own official deputy Dorkface, they never bathe in water from that day forward. At first, the townspeople didn't mind. The children of Stinkville thought it was great. But after a while, things began to smell. P.U. As Colin and Taylor rode up the main street, things were eerily quiet. Suddenly, bursting from a cloud of dust and dirt in front of City Hall, a very, very dirty man strode out and stood directly in the path of Taylor and Colin and their horses. "Whoa there! What are you strangers doing in my town?" he yelled. Who are you? Sir?" stammered Colin nervously. The man didn't seem friendly at all, and the children were a little frightened. "I'm Deputy Dorkface," shouted the man. Yet the deputy had developed a habit of shouting because people didn't stand too close to him. P.U., thought Taylor and Colin. "I run Stinkville," the deputy continued to shout. "I'm in charge here, and we don't get strangers in town anymore." Taylor and Colin could definitely believe that. All the commotion had encouraged the townspeople to come outside. A large, very dirty, very smelly crowd had gathered. The sad-looking, smelling people nodded and murmured in agreement. Indeed, it had been a very long time since anyone had come to visit Stinkville. P.U. Even though the people were sad and a little embarrassed for being so stinky, there was a look of hope in their eyes. The kids knew they had to do something to help the Stinkvillians. Look, even the dog's dirty. So with Deputy Dorkface still glaring at them, Taylor leaned over and whispered into Colin's ear. Then Colin whispered into Taylor's ear. But all Deputy Dorkface could hear was psst, 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 psst. He was becoming angrier and angrier by the second. The deputy announced, "You are trespassing in my town. I'm throwing you in jail." Uh-oh. They had to act fast. After jumping off his horse, Colin quickly grabbed a rope and hurled it over Deputy Dorkface's head to Taylor, who caught the end of the rope and pulled it tight. Before Deputy Dorkface knew what was happening, Taylor ran around one way and Colin ran the other way. The deputy was spinning around in a cloud of his own smelly dust. He was caught, and now he was very, very angry. And he didn't smell great either. Together, using all their muscles, they were able to pull the very large man through the street and over to the town lake. A very stinky crowd was following along, too. P.U. All the while he was yelling, "I'll get you, kids. You don't know who you're messing with. You'll be thrown into the slammer. I'll swallow the key and you'll never get out." He was yelling at them as they pulled him into the lake. "Look, even the cows are dirty." You could hear his shouts from the popping bubbles as he slipped underwater. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Taylor and Colin dropped the rope and just watched. It was quiet for what felt like a very long time. But it was really just a few seconds. After the silence came a huge splash. Deputy Dorkface burst from the water. He was spluttering and coughing and still yelling at them as if he had never stopped. Now, in spite of the rope clinging to him, he started to run directly toward the children. Suddenly, he just stopped dead in his tracks. He just stopped. It was so quiet you could hear the dripping water falling from Deputy Dorkface to the ground. Plop, plop, plop. He started sniffing the air. He started sniffing the skin on his arms. First on the left arm, then on the right. And something else. He noticed he wasn't all red and blotchy. The water wasn't bad after all. He slowly raised his arms in the air triumphantly, and from the top of his lungs he yelled, "Hot diggity dog, I'm clean! Yowza wowza, I'm clean!" "Baths for everyone," announced Deputy Dorkface. "Baths for everyone." The crowd of townspeople who had gathered around erupted with shouts of delight. Without hesitation, the entire town sprinted toward the lake. They ran, jumped, dove, cartwheeled, flipped, splashed, and belly flopped into the water. Even their dogs, cats, hamsters, and horses joined their owners so they could bathe too. The people of Stinkville were getting clean. The celebration continued with smiles, backslapping, and joyful, happy cheers all around. The sad, smelly people of Stinkville sure seemed happy now. Even Deputy Dorkface, whose real first name is Daryl. Water tower closed. The horse is doing a cannonball. Shampoo and soap, 10 cents. The deputy winked to Taylor and Colin as they climbed back upon Sassy and Pegasus to chase the sunset toward their home. As the sun was sinking below the horizon in front of them, they peered over their shoulders and witnessed an enormous glow from the town due to all the smiles they left behind in Stinkville and no more. P.U. Years later, Deputy Daryl Dorkface discovered that he was allergic to peanuts in the peanut butter. The water had been fine. The water had been just fine all along. You are now leaving Cleanville. The end.